I realize that the people I'm going to talk about today do not represent all of the MCU fans, but this is what I mean when I say that most modern audience members have zero concept of what filmmaking actually is. Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is now streaming on Disney+. And as a result, we are getting a new crop of reactions to the movie now that people have had more time to actually sit down and watch it. And frankly, some of them are exactly what you would expect from uncultured, uninformed movie watchers.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
Now just to clarify, I personally was not a huge fan of Multiverse of Madness. To me, it was your typical Marvel movie with some Sam Raimi scenes thrown in throughout it. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I do not believe that this movie was 100% Sam Raimi's vision, and I stand by that. But I did say that the parts where Sam Raimi's DNA could very easily be identified were the best parts of the film. Honestly, I believe that this movie deserved a better script, and if Sam Raimi was as involved as people say he was, we would have gotten that.
Hail to the king, baby.
And this is the issue with the MCU as a whole for me. You can bring in talented filmmakers all you want, but they still have to work within these pre-established guidelines. And to me, that's no way to make a movie. That's not allowing a talented filmmaker to work to their full capabilities. So to the surprise of no one, the few aspects of this movie that I did praise are now under attack by more traditional MCU fans. When I say that modern audiences don't like change, they don't like variation, and they want everything to be formulaic, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
Some of these tweets were getting a lot of attention over the weekend, and much to my pleasure, these people were also being called out for their ignorance. A little bit of faith in humanity restored. And to be clear, this is not a matter of personal taste and what works for you or me. This is about some people not understanding the basic fundamentals of filmmaking, due to their conditioning because they've watched nothing but MCU movies their whole life.
So I strongly suggest that you wake the fuck up.
The first tweet we have comes from Virus Kid, which honestly sounds like an appropriate name considering the take that he gives. He says, quote, "I'm watching Multiverse of Madness right now, and if I had zero knowledge that this was a Sam Raimi film, I would immediately been able to tell by the stupid ass transitions. Big fan." Now, I don't know if this is meant to be taken sarcastically because of the big fan comment, and the fact that this person sounds to be at least somewhat knowledgeable of Sam Raimi's artistic style.
Whoopie fucking do. Hey, I'm impressed.
But I'm inclined to believe that, quote, stupid ass transitions isn't meant to be a compliment. Even if this person in particular is being sarcastic in this moment. I could definitely see other people taking issue with how Sam Raimi transitions from one scene to another. Simply because most MCU fans are probably very used to the most basic level of scene transition. And they might not understand when someone offers a unique take on that.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
Now they could educate themselves like a normal person would, but instead they decide to take shots at these directors. Again, it's programming. If you make a lot of films at a very basic level, that's all people are going to understand and desire. How many times have we heard people say, just do it like the MCU? And again, I'm not trying to take anything away from them. MCU movies can exist. But I personally don't want every single film that I watch to look exactly the same. That's just fucking boring to me.
That makes sense.
But honestly, this wasn't the most egregious tweet about this subject over the weekend. That honor is reserved for Kissor, or we'll just call him Eyesore based on his horrible take on this subject, who said in reference to a very Raimi-esque collage scene contained within the movie that, quote, "What in the living hell is this? It looks like a 90s horror film, but just the CGI is a bit advanced. How can Sam Raimi treat this holy Marvel movie like his old horror movies in the 90s? Scott Derrickson's movie in 2016 was a work of art." Alright, so there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, saying a Sam Raimi scene looks like a Sam Raimi scene is not an insult. I'm pretty sure that's quite literally why he was hired in the first place. For me, Sam Raimi is the only person that stopped this movie from being a complete waste of time.
Get the fuck out of here! No, I cannot. It's serious.
Second, there's nothing advanced about the CGI in modern movies. I would argue that CGI has actually regressed over the past few years, especially in MCU movies. Whether that's due to a lack of effort or a lack of resources put into it, I have no idea. But I would venture to say that we would have gotten a lot more practical effects if in fact this was Sam Raimi's vision like everyone says it was. Also, the fact that you called this a holy Marvel movie tells me everything I need to know about you. You clearly view these movies as a religion much more than you do works of art, and that is yet another problem with modern audiences.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
And another reason why most of them aren't receptive to change. The part about Scott Derrickson's Doctor Strange being a work of art, I can't really speak on because I'm not entirely sure I've seen that movie in its entirety. But I have seen other Scott Derrickson movies, including most recently The Black Phone over the weekend, and I can't say that I'm overly impressed overall. It's safe to say that Sam Raimi is a much more accomplished filmmaker at this point in time.
I'm not shitting on you.
The bottom line for me in all of this is that people like this do not understand the concept of artistic integrity. And they have no knowledge of the history of filmmaking or what it takes to actually make a memorable film. I look at MCU movies as a completely different thing than every other movie that's ever been made at this point. And I think when a lot of fans watch these movies, they aren't looking at them from an artistic standpoint, from a critical standpoint. To me, they are quite literally theme park rides that are designed to give you the most basic level of satisfaction.
Fool this man!
And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to take issue when you criticize a director like Sam Raimi, who incorporates a handful of scenes that are quite literally the most interesting thing to happen to the MCU in a very long time. When you criticize someone for something like that, that just tells me that you're hating for the sake of hating, and you really don't have a desire to have these films made the best they can be. When I frequently tell people to raise their standards, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Don't be so complacent, and then maybe someday these movies will start to feel special again, instead of just another release off the assembly line at Marvel Studios.
Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
Y'all be cool. Right on.